May 24th, 2013. It is not yet 7 in the morning in San Jose, Costa Rica. In a quiet apartment in the Rohr-Moser district, a man named Arthur Budovsky is making coffee. He is 39 years old, medium height, unremarkable appearance. The kind of man you pass on the street 100 times and never remember. What his neighbors don't know, what almost nobody on earth knows, is that this man in this apartment is the CEO of the largest criminal financial institution in the history of the internet. His company has processed over $6 billion in transactions. It has clients in more than 180 countries. It has laundered money for drug cartels, cybercriminal networks, people on international terrorism watch lists. The FBI has been hunting him for 7 years. Interpol has an active red notice with his name on it. The IRS has a file on him so thick it fills an entire shelf. And this morning, like every morning, Arthur Budovsky makes his coffee, opens his laptops, and goes to work. Because as far as he is concerned, they will never find him. He has made sure of it. He is wrong. The true story of the man who built a $6 billion shadow bank and the single transaction that brought it all down. To understand Arthur Budovsky, you have to start somewhere that no longer exists. Kherson, Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, 1974. In the Soviet system, official currency means almost nothing. What matters is access, connections, the ability to move value outside the official channels through favors, through barter, through the vast informal economy operating underneath the surface of every communist state. Budovsky grows up watching this. He learns something early that most people never learn at all. The people who thrive are never the ones who follow the system. They are the ones who understand how to move around it. This observation made by a child in a crumbling Soviet city will eventually become the foundation of a $6 billion empire. By his early 20s, Budovsky has two obsessions: computers and money, not separately together. He studies networks, encryption, the way data can be anonymized, rerouted, made invisible. He studies financial systems, how value moves, how trails are created, how trails can be erased. And as the internet begins to reshape the world in the late 1990s, Budovsky sees something most people haven't noticed yet. A gap. A vast, unregulated corridor between the physical world of traditional finance and the emerging digital world. A space where money could move quickly, anonymously, irreversibly, without the oversight of any bank, any government, any regulator. Most people who saw this gap became entrepreneurs. Arthur Budovsky became something else. In 2000, Budovsky immigrates to the United States, settles in New York. He studies the early digital currency platforms, companies like eGold, which let users transfer value online backed by physical gold reserves. eGold is shut down by the US government in 2007 for facilitating money laundering. But before that happens, Budovsky has already learned everything eGold has to teach him. Every vulnerability, every regulatory exposure, every mistake. He isn't going to repeat them. He is going to build something better, something the government can't touch. In 2006, Budovsky registers a company in New York called Gold Age Incorporated, a digital currency exchange. Minimal identity verification, almost no questions asked. Within months, it attracts exactly the clients you'd expect, people who need to move money without being identified. The New York State Banking Department investigates. They charge Budovsky with operating an unlicensed money-transmitting business. He pleads guilty, receives 5 years probation. And here, most people would stop. Budovsky doesn't stop. He analyzes the prosecution, studies the regulatory framework, and reaches one very specific conclusion. The problem wasn't the business model. The problem was the jurisdiction. What happened next would change the criminal financial world forever. In 2006, the same year he pleads guilty in New York, Arthur Budovsky begins renouncing his U.S. citizenship. He moves to Costa Rica, applies for citizenship, studies the local regulatory framework with surgical precision. Digital currency operations exist in a legal gray zone that Costa Rican authorities haven't addressed yet. He finds his gap. And in 2006, from San Jose, using a Costa Rican corporate structure with locally hired staff who have no idea what they're building, Arthur Budovsky launches Liberty Reserve. The pitch is simple. Create an account, deposit money. It converts into Liberty Reserve's digital currency, LR dollars, transfer to anyone, anywhere, instantly. They convert back to real cash through a network of third-party exchangers. Fast, global, irreversible. And here is the feature that makes Liberty Reserve unlike any legitimate financial service on Earth. To open an account, you need a name, a date of birth, and an email address. That is all. No identity verification, no address, no government ID, no source of funds documentation. Liberty Reserve's terms of service technically prohibit illegal activity. The platform performs zero checks to enforce those terms. Users registered accounts under names like Russia Hacker, Fraud King, and documented in court records Barack Obama. Every account approved, automatically. Because Liberty Reserve wasn't designed to prevent money laundering, it was designed to enable it. The growth is extraordinary. Within 1 year, hundreds of thousands of users. Within 3 years, millions. Credit card fraud rings use it to move stolen funds. Identity theft networks liquidate operations through it. Drug trafficking organizations move cartel money across borders without touching a single traditional bank. Cybercriminals pay for hacking tools, stolen data, ransomware infrastructure. And most alarmingly, individuals on international terrorism financing watch lists are identified as active regular users. Not accidentally, deliberately. By 2012, Liberty Reserve is processing $2 billion per year. Over its full lifetime, prosecutors calculate 55 million transactions, $6 billion, gone. Budovsky employs over 50 people in Costa Rica, runs what looks, from the outside, like a legitimate tech company. Most employees genuinely don't know what they're working for. The ones who do are paid enough to make their peace with it. And the agencies hunting him are about to make their first move. The U.S. Department of Justice first flags Liberty Reserve in 2009. An IRS agent working a routine cybercrime case notices that fraud proceeds are flowing through a platform called Liberty Reserve. He pulls the thread. What he finds stops him cold. It isn't just one fraud scheme using the platform. It is dozens, simultaneously, each completely unaware of the others, all running money through the same infrastructure. An interagency task force assembles. IRS, FBI, DEA, Homeland Security, Secret Service, financial intelligence units from 17 countries. They call it Operation Casablanca 2. And they begin the slow, painful process of trying to penetrate a system specifically designed to be impenetrable. The problems are immediate. Liberty Reserve is incorporated in Costa Rica. Its servers are distributed across Latvia, the Netherlands, Morocco, Spain. Its banking relationships are spread across jurisdictions chosen specifically to obstruct legal cooperation. Every attempt to compel disclosure hits a wall of international legal complexity that takes months to navigate. Technically, the anonymization layers are extraordinary. Even identifying that account A sent money to account B tells you nothing about who account A actually is. For 3 years, 2009 to 2012, the task force grinds forward. Budovsky remains completely untouched. Liberty Reserve keeps running. The money keeps moving. But the task force has just found something, and everything is about to change. It is 2012. An IRS analyst is reviewing a dataset of Liberty Reserve transactions obtained through months of legal cooperation with Costa Rica and the Netherlands. The dataset is enormous. Hundreds of thousands of transactions, a wall of numbers. But financial forensics at this level is not about finding something obvious. It is about finding the one thing that doesn't fit. The one moment where a system built for anonymity makes a human error. And in this dataset, buried inside hundreds of thousands of transactions, there is one. A single wire transfer from a real, identifiable bank account to a Liberty Reserve exchanger. The bank account belongs to a Costa Rican company. The company's incorporation documents list a director, a pseudonym, but the documents also list an address. An apartment building, Roermoser District, San Jose. Investigators cross-reference with Costa Rican immigration records. One resident, a naturalized Costa Rican citizen, originally from Ukraine, appears in a 7-year-old New York State prosecution file. Arthur Budovsky, the man who pleaded guilty in New York in 2006, who renounced his citizenship, who disappeared into Costa Rica, who had been, as far as U.S. authorities knew, living quietly ever since. The analyst stares at his screen, picks up his phone, calls his supervisor. The words he uses, according to a colleague present that day, are simple and entirely appropriate. "I think we found him." This is where things get interesting. Finding Budovsky doesn't mean arresting him immediately, because the task force faces the same problem that has defined this investigation from the beginning. Jurisdiction. Budovsky is a Costa Rican citizen in Costa Rica, running a company incorporated in Costa Rica. Move too early, he runs. Finds a country with no extradition treaty. The entire decade of investigation collapses. For months, through late 2012 and into early 2013, the task force works in absolute secrecy. They build the extradition architecture with Costa Rican authorities. They prepare a 35-page criminal indictment in the Southern District of New York. They coordinate simultaneous legal actions across 17 countries, timed to execute at the same hour, on the same day, so no part of the network can warn the others. Throughout all of this, Liberty Reserve keeps running. Budovsky keeps making his coffee, opening his laptops, going to work. He has no idea, or almost no idea, because in early 2013 his behavior shifts. He changes communication patterns, increases encrypted messaging, moves money between accounts in ways that suggest preparation. Whether someone tipped him or whether it's simple paranoia, investigators are never certain. What they are certain of, if they wait any longer, he will run. The decision is made. May 24, 2013, the operation goes live. 6:47 a.m., Arthur Budovsky is making coffee. 7:15 a.m., Costa Rican officers, coordinating with U.S. federal agents stationed outside the building, enter the complex. They knock on his door. He answers it himself. He looks at the badges. He looks at the faces of the men standing in his doorway. And then he steps aside and lets them in. No resistance, no attempt to flee, no destruction of evidence. He sits at his kitchen table. He does not say a word. His 3 laptops are still open on the dining table. His 2 phones are still on the kitchen counter. The coffee maker is still running. Simultaneously, across 17 countries, the walls close in. In Spain, 2 Liberty Reserve associates arrested. In Latvia, servers seized. Netherlands, Morocco, Sweden, Australia, China, Norway, Switzerland, accounts frozen. Assets seized, coordinated, simultaneous. In New York, at 8 a.m. Eastern, the DOJ unseals the indictment. United States v. Arthur Budovsky et al. Money laundering conspiracy. Unlicensed money transmitting. Conspiracy to commit money laundering. Maximum sentence, 25 years. At a press conference that afternoon, the Attorney General of the United States announces something that sends shockwaves through every dark corner of the internet. Liberty Reserve is gone. Domains seized, servers offline, accounts frozen. In a single coordinated operation spanning 17 countries and years of preparation, one of the most sophisticated criminal financial institutions in history is dismantled in a matter of hours. But Arthur Budovsky is not finished yet. He spends the next 2 years fighting extradition from a prison in Madrid. His Spanish defense team files motion after motion. They challenge U.S. jurisdiction. They argue Liberty Reserve was legal under Costa Rican law. Every motion is rejected. In late 2015, Budovsky is extradited to the United States. He arrives in New York in handcuffs. And then after months of legal proceedings, he does something nobody expects. He pleads guilty. January 29, 2016. Federal Courthouse, Southern District of New York. Arthur Budovsky stands before a judge and admits everything. Liberty Reserve was designed from the beginning to launder money. He knew exactly who his clients were. He took deliberate steps to ensure law enforcement could never find them. He admits in the precise language of a federal guilty plea that he operated the largest money laundering operation in internet history. The courtroom is quiet as he reads those words. Outside in the digital underground, Liberty Reserve once served forums go dark overnight. Exchanger networks shut down. Criminal operations scramble for alternatives. Because Budovsky's plea is not just personal admission, it is a roadmap. His cooperation drives investigations and prosecutions across more than a dozen countries for years to come. On May 6, 2016, Judge Denise Cote sentences Arthur Budovsky to 20 years in federal prison. He is 42 years old. When Liberty Reserve shut down in May 2013, law enforcement assumed it would cripple the criminal financial underground. That assumption was correct. For approximately 6 months. Because what Budovsky had built, what he had proven was possible, wasn't a secret anymore. The architecture, the digital currency model, the minimal verification, the distributed servers, the exchanger network. All of it was documented in exhaustive detail in the U.S. government's own public indictment. Within months of the shutdown, a new generation of platforms began to emerge. And lurking beneath all of them, growing exponentially, driven partly by the demand Liberty Reserve had revealed, was a technology Budovsky had seen coming but never fully exploited. Bitcoin. In 2013, the year Liberty Reserve fell, Bitcoin's market cap, $1 billion. By 2021, $1 trillion. The criminal component grew with it. Dark web markets, ransomware, fraud networks, all finding in cryptocurrency a tool that made Liberty Reserve look primitive. Chainalysis estimates that in 2022 alone, $20.6 billion in cryptocurrency was linked to illicit activity. In 1 year. Through a system more sophisticated and harder to trace than anything Budovsky ever built. The lesson of Liberty Reserve was not cautionary. It was instructional. He showed them the gaps. He showed them the mistakes to avoid. And the people who came after him, smarter, faster, better equipped, were paying close attention. There is one moment in the government's sentencing memorandum that stops you when you read it. Not a dramatic flourish, just a quiet observation. The IRS agents note that throughout the entire investigation, through all the server seizures, the transaction analysis, the years of international legal cooperation, they were never able to identify the true identity of the majority of Liberty Reserve's criminal clients. The anonymization system worked exactly as designed. The drug traffickers, the fraudsters, the cybercriminals, most of them were never caught through Liberty Reserve. They made other mistakes, left other trails. But the system Budovsky built held. Which means somewhere out there are people who used Liberty Reserve for years, moved millions through it, funded crimes with it. People who were never identified, who are still out there. Who learned from Budovsky's one mistake, the single transaction, the single digital footprint, the one moment of human error that unraveled everything. And who are, right now, building something designed to make sure they don't make the same one. Arthur Budovsky once sent a message recovered from his seized laptops, written in 2011, at the absolute peak of Liberty Reserve's operation. He was responding to a trusted associate who asked whether he was worried about law enforcement. His answer was 4 words. They cannot touch us. He was wrong about that. But he was right about something else. The gap he found, that unregulated corridor between traditional finance and the digital world, did not close when Liberty Reserve shut down. It got wider. It is wider today than it has ever been. And somewhere in that gap, in a hotel room, in an apartment, in a server farm, in a jurisdiction no one is watching, someone is building the next Liberty Reserve. Better, faster, harder to find. And the agencies that will eventually have to stop them are right now approximately 7 years behind.